People are genuinely panicked at this point that the authoritarianism has been turned up to 11. Like, there's no coming back at this point. They're really going down this path that historically we know always ends tragically for anyone who tries to do it.
Today we'll hear from Bitcoin maximalist Max Keiser as he discusses the decline of the US dollar as the world reserve currency and the recent rise and fall of institutions that have fought against adoption of Bitcoin as legal tender. Keiser points out that countries like China, Russia, Brazil, and many other nations are moving away from the dollar, which will inevitably lead to their downfall. He questions the serious lack of attention from the mainstream media on the multi-level collapse we're starting to see take place. With major banks showing warning signs of the dollar being in trouble, the next few months will be critical for investors. Storm clouds are still threatening the economy, as they did a year ago. As many analysts believe, the current crisis has just begun. Let's get right into the latest interview with Max Keiser, as he gives his prediction for Bitcoin and the crypto market at large, and where we're headed in the coming months. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. It's a tremendous help for the growth of the channel, and helps us bring you more content just like this. Let's get right into the video.
And now, of course, these countries, the biggest countries, China, the BRICS, they're moving away from the dollar. So the dollar loses world reserve currency status, which is obviously very detrimental to the United States economy. But again, nobody seems to be talking about that really in earnest or seriously, or what it all means and how this impacts people's lives.
We mentioned that the mainstream media and all the institutions like Moody's, Fitch, the elite media of the United States, they totally missed the collapse of all their friends like Sam Bankman-Fried, their Ponzi schemes, all the New York regulated entities like Gemini and Genesis and all those, all those companies, all starting with G and stuff like that. In New York City, they collapsed, right? So they missed all of that because they kept on pointing at us because we were succeeding here in El Salvador, right? Well, the banks are falling apart in the United States, right? By the way, while the banks are collapsing, have all of those financial media or the Fitch or the Moody's of the world apologize to El Salvador? We didn't go default on our debts. We didn't go bankrupt. We didn't go bust. We didn't have chaos. We didn't have any of that here. No, it was there in the heart of New York City and the heart of Silicon Valley and the heart of Frankfurt and Switzerland and Geneva and all that sort of stuff. All of their banks are falling apart. All of their schemes are collapsing. They're the ones that were projecting onto us all of their own fraud.
They were projecting onto us. We have become the safe haven, which is amazing because even a year ago, we were considered to be capital of the world. Now it's El Salvador, the safe haven, the safest country in the Americas, safer than even Canada, probably safer than most Disneyland parks. So the idea was, at what point does the migrant flow in between El Salvador and the U.S. reverse? So in other words, at what point did we go from net leaving, migrants leaving, to net migrants arriving? And this would be the Canadians and the Americans and the Europeans and the Asians who are coming to take advantage of El Salvador. And the choices were 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 12 months. I checked a little bit before, and I think 40% said maybe 12 months. But I think this is an interesting metric.
We've been warning you, but now it's here. We've been warning you for a few years, not only about the coming financial collapse and the monetary collapse, but we've been pointing out the obvious in terms of the US dollar, is the global reserve currency, or has been for the past few decades. And we pointed out the warning signs that they're basically rugging the whole world because it's an interesting way of operating and it's an interesting policy. I don't know what their end goal is there to blow it up. Let's see how that goes. Nevertheless, they seem to be doing it. We've been warning you about this emerging authoritarian surveillance state in the United States. They want to disintegrate your conception of truth. They want no truth except for the truth that they tell you that moment is their truth. And this is happening faster and faster, and it's disintegrating faster. So we've seen over the past, in the past day, we've seen a settlement of some oil traded in yuan.
That's what I was going to mention.
We see Saudi Arabia joining BRICS. We see the disintegration of that petrodollar system.
Speak on it.
We see also in the United States that they want to introduce this ban on TikTok. And in order to ban TikTok, then they have to ban an entire segment of free speech.
Tell the people.
And also say that, Americans, or I guess anybody under the authority of some new ministry that they're going to create or some new position will have some sort of power to throw you in prison for 20 years and fine you $1 million for using a VPN. Like, it's just like, what the hell is happening so fast?
Keiser points out that El Salvador has not defaulted on debts or experienced chaos, like the collapsing banks in the US and Europe. He gives warning to the coming financial and monetary collapse, the disintegration of the concept of truth, and the emergence of a new era of money.
So liquefied natural gas, I think, is the contract that's being settled in yuan between Russia, China. So that's the first point. So all of the post-World War II dollar-based trade, after World War II, they went Bretton Woods, and Bretton Woods made everything based on the dollar. Everything had to use the dollar. Everyone wanted to trade oil and gas, had to use the dollar. And now, of course, these countries, the biggest countries, China, the BRICS, they're moving away from the dollar. So the dollar loses world reserve currency status, which is obviously very detrimental to the United States economy. But again, nobody seems to be talking about that really in earnest or seriously, or what it all means and how this impacts people's lives. And it's obviously inflationary. The inflation is not transitory, because the breakdown in the way the global economy is occurring outside of US dollar as world reserve currency means that the client states of America, which means every country that's not America, is going to start charging more for their stuff because they don't want dollars, right? It's very simple. Like, we don't want dollars. So it's going to cost more, or give us more dollars. We don't want it. So inflation's now intractable. Inflation's now systemically built in going forward. And that means quality of life is going to go down. It's axiomatically true that quality of life will go down. And there's no way that the GDP will ever rise to any equation where paying off deficit becomes a reality. So that's only going to grow exponentially. So on the point of authoritarianism, okay, it seems like the policymakers are reaching for solutions. They've given up trying to solve things economically. So they're going into a box called authoritarianism, right? That's where they're looking for the solutions. With this new passage of a new law, I guess you can get criminalization of using a VPN and this advanced surveillance state approach in authoritarianism. So again, Stacey, explain to me, if you had two boxes in front of you, one was, we're going to rely on entrepreneurialism and American can-doism, and here we're going to go to authoritarianism. Why are they picking the authoritarian box? Explain this to me.
Keiser talks about the settlement of the Russia-China liquefied natural gas contract, which he believes is a sign of a shift away from the US dollar as the world reserve currency. He argues that this shift will lead to inflation, and policymakers will turn to authoritarianism as a solution. Keiser says that the collapse in people's trust in institutions has led to this, which is unlikely to be reversed. He says the political landscape is ripe for continued social unrest, and the breakdown we're seeing unfold. What do you guys think of Max Keiser's prediction for Bitcoin in 2023, and how the decline of the US dollar will affect most countries in the world? Comment down below. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Library of Wealth. We'll see you in the next video.